Hi everyone and welcome to this video. I'm Glenn and this is episode 4 of the Oathsworn painting series. In this episode I'll be painting the Satyr. If you're new to miniature painting, I hope you'll find this video interesting and helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. As usual, let's witness the evolution from this pristine unpainted miniature to its fully painted form. Let's begin. I made sure to remove all the mold lines on the model with a hobby knife or file. I primed the model with cast black primer. Next I used an airbrush to make a cinematic light effect by applying a white color from above. This can also be applied by using a can of white primer. If you would like to use speed paints for the base, a white base is required. I started the painting process by applying some base coats on different parts of the model. The first base coat is Deepwood brown on all the skin. Next I apply beastie brown to the hooves. And for all the hair on the legs, arms and the mane I use Gravelord Grey. For most of the model, the cinematic light effect is not needed, because the paint we apply will be completely opaque. However, as I wanted to experiment with speed paints on the model, I decided to prime the model in this manner. I also use Gravelord Grey on the horns. I applied charred brown on the Satyr's walking stick. And beastie brown on the cloth parts. I apply bone white on the fur around the shoulder pad. And for the leather on the shoulder pad I used charred brown. The cloth around the Satyr is painted with bone white. And for the inside I use beastie brown. I mix 3 parts hardened leather and 6 parts Gravelord Grey. This mix is applied on the bag and the shoulder strap. Continuing with the skin with a mix of Deepwood brown and Bugman's glow. I applied this to almost all of the skin, but I want to maintain the Deepwood brown in the deepest shadows. As we move on to the next step, my attention shifts towards the most exposed areas on the model. As usual, I envision the light source coming directly from above. I apply Bugman's glove as I worked from the shadowed areas towards the more exposed skin, gradually using brighter tones of colors. To create an even smoother transition, consider thinning the paints further before applying. This technique is applied to all the steps regarding the skin. It's a constant back and forth between the different skin tones to create a nice transition. Painting the skin in this manner can be a bit challenging, especially if you haven't tried it before. It's a learning process that can be hard to describe step by step, but don't be afraid to give it a shot. After all, it's just paint. The model looked like this after all the skin was painted with Doombull Brown and Bugman's Glow. I used black to outline the hair against the skin tone, on the arms, the beard, the legs and the mane. I also added hair on the chest. This is applied with thin brushstrokes. Next, I continue painting the skin using the same technique as before. I mix Bugman's Glow and Cadian Flesh Tone to create a variety of lighter and darker skin tones. In this instance, Bugman's Glow serves as the darkest tone, while a mix of Bugman's Glow and Cadian Flesh Tone provides the brightest skin tone. The skin looked like this when these layers were applied. For the next step, working on the skin, I continue using the same colors, but now I use pure Cadian Flesh Tone as the brightest layer. I follow the same process as the previous steps. I go back and forth between the different skin tones to create the smooth transition. I use medium gunship grey and apply this on the hair parts with thin brushstrokes, on the arms, the legs, the beard, the chest and the mane. I would like to retain some of the black from previous step. This is also to clean up the dumble brown that is still visible on the hair parts. I add more hairs on the chest with medium gunship grey. I added more hair on the chest with a black color. I repeated the process on the chest, but this time with bone white. I returned to the skin for a last time, and this time I use skin tones ranging from Cadian flesh tone to Kislev flesh. Kislev flesh is applied to the areas where I want the skin to appear the brightest. this step I aim to create a smooth transition from the horn and to the head. I begin by applying pure Cadian flesh tone. Next I apply Bugman's Glove to the areas where I want the horns to start. Afterwards I mix Bugman's Glove and medium gunship grey, and I focus on the horn's starting point. And gradually adding more gunship grey into the mix to achieve the transition between the horn and the head. I switch back to Bugman's Glove for touch-ups. I use Cadian flesh tone to highlight the touch-ups. I apply Egrox Earthshade onto the horns. And I use Raglan Flesh Shade on the transition between the horn and the skin. This is to smooth out the transition and to darken the recesses. I painted the nose with Dumble Brown, and I use Bugman's Glove as a highlight. I use pale flesh to highlight the head. For the eyes and the teeth I use bone white. Next I use white on the eyes and the eye sockets. I apply Fire Giant Orange to the eyes. The Satyr's eyes are described as two suns at sunset, so I believe this is a perfect choice. If you apply a bit too much, wipe off the brush and soak up the excess. I follow up with Uriel Yellow to the eyeballs. And added a final highlight with a mix of Uriel Yellow and white. At this stage, the Satyr looks like this. I base coat the skulls on the cloth with Beastie Brown. And for further layers I mix Beastie Brown and Bone White. For each layer applied, I add more Bone White to the mix. And for the last highlight, I use an almost pure Bone White. For the Sling Bag, I apply a layer of charred brown. Next, I apply a layer mixed with charred brown and beastie brown. The next layer consists of pure beastie brown, and from that point and onward I will focus on the exposed and raised areas of the Sling Bag. I apply a thin layer of scragged brown. Following the first layer of scragged brown, I apply a second layer, using stippling to create some texture on the bag. For the last highlight on the Sling Bag, I used the stippling technique with your Caro Orange. I proceed to the hair. I cover all the hair parts in the next few steps, starting with a black color, applying it with thin brushstrokes. All the following steps also apply to the mane. The next color is beastie brown. Now I use bone white. apply Agrok's Earthshade on all the hair parts to blend it all together. I cover all the hair parts again with a mix of beastly brown and bone white. I also apply pure bone white. I apply the last hairs to all the hair parts with Dumble Brown. To make the horns more visually appealing, I decided to paint them in two colors, charred brown underneath and medium gunship grey on top. I apply Agrok's Earthshade on the horns to darken the recesses. The wash is dry and I use a mix of grey and white to layer the grey areas. I add more white into the mix and focus on the raised areas. I thinned down some Agrok's Earthshade with water. And apply it all over the horns to make it more unclean. I add the last highlights on the brown areas with a mix of beastie brown and bone white. I add Agrex's Earthshade on the fur part around the shoulder pad. I also use Agrex's Earthshade on the shoulder pad, painting random weathered creases. Now I'm following the same process I used on the Sling Bag, avoiding the painted creases, using charred brown, beastie brown, scrag brown and Yucaro orange. I highlight the fur around the shoulder pad with bone white. And I use Oathsworn grey for the final highlight. I painted the nails black. I mix black with Doombolt brown and apply a thin layer to create a transition between the nail and the finger. I repeat the process using pure Bogner's glove. This is just a thin layer to smooth it out. I apply Agrex's Earthshade to the walking stick to darken the recesses. Next I apply a mix of charred brown and beastie brown. I apply a second layer with even more beastie brown in the mix. I shift to beastie brown and bone white and apply a layer with a mix of these colors. For the final highlight I use pure bone white. continue on the cloth on the staff, using brown tones of beastie brown and bone white. I thinned down some Ecrex Earthshade and applied that to the cloth. I use bone white as the final highlight. I basecoat the human parts on the back with Bugman's glove. I use the same method as when I painted the Satyr's skin, using a range of skin tones which includes Bugman's glove, Cadian flesh tone, Kislev flesh and pale flesh. I base coated the small bit on the back with Steel Legion drab. I added a layer of bone white and a final highlight with Oathsworn grey. I thinned down Ecrex Earthshade again with water to create a weathered effect on the cloth around the waist. I make sure it doesn't pull up, wipe the brush clean to absorb the excess if needed. The wash is dry and I highlight the cloth with bone white. I mix 2 parts Druchii Violet and 2 parts Reglan Fleshshade. This is applied on the teeth. I add a layer of bone white and apply a last highlight with Oathsworn Grey. I highlight the capillaries on the skin by using the various skin tones that was previously applied. Depending on the placement of the capillaries, I highlight them using one of these colors. To define the capillaries, I used diluted Bugman's glove. I applied this glaze along the capillaries. Let's shift our attention to our body on the stick. Let's name him Sven. I basecoat Sven with Bugman's Glow. I apply charred brown to the wood parts, the spears and ropes. I use bone white on the cloth around the waist. I basecoat the Tattered cloth on the spears with black. And apply a layer of dark Reaver, focusing on the exposed and raised areas. Next I apply a layer using a mix of dark Reaper and medium gunship grey. This is applied even more towards the raised areas. I go along the edges and the raised areas again with medium gunship grey. For the last highlight I go along the edges with a mix of medium gunship grey and bone white. Afterwards I make small brushstrokes along the edges. This is to create some textures. I basecoat the skulls with steel legion drab. Now let's move on to painting Sven. For his skin I will be using a range of skin tones, including Bogman's Glow, Cadian Flesh Tone, Kislev Flesh and Pale Flesh. I use the same process as on the Satyr's skin, going back and forth between the different skin tones to make it all look nice and neat. I paint the hair black and use grey for highlights. I use Agrax Earthshade on the cloth. And Bone White for highlights. I use Beastie Brown and Bone White to layer and highlight the wood parts and the rope. For the spear tips, I use a thin layer of Doombull brown in a random pattern. Next, I repeat the process using Beastie Brown. I add some chainmail silver. And for the final highlight, I go along the edges with steel. Continuing on the skulls, I use a range of colors, including Steel Legion Drab, Bone White and Oathsworn Grey. Where the eye sockets and the nose should be hollow, I use charred brown to cover this up. I apply bone white and afterwards pure white into Sven's eye sockets. The Satyr doesn't speak in this game, instead it speaks through its victim. So in this instance, it's using Sven as a conduit. To emphasize this, I decided to paint the eyes in the same manner, creating the illusion that he's under the Satyr's control. Let's take it a bit further. To enhance the sense of control, I added symbolic markings on the skulls using blood for the blood god, creating the appearance of a cruel ritual. It's a rather thick paint, so I added some glaze medium. I also add the blood effect to Sven's mouth, hands and feet. Now you might wonder who painted the symbols on the skulls. Was it Sven? No. Of course it was the Satyr itself. To convey this, I added a blood effect to the fingertips, as if the Satyr had drawn the symbols using Sven's blood. Poor Sven. The Satyr and Sven are done, and I proceed to the base. I use highlight blue, palette bone, sealed yellow, orc skin, hardened leather and gravelord grey. I apply the paint directly on the base and mix them, like I have done in previous episodes. As usual, I make good contrast between the colors and make it look random. The speed paints are dry and I begin highlighting and painting details on the base using white, bone white, beastie brown, warlord purple, Uriel yellow, Caliban green and Cereals purple. I painted the small symbol on the rock with white. Next I applied highlight blue. I used scarlet red to cover the arrow on the base. And finally the two last laps around the base rim with a black color. I covered the model with matte varnish to achieve a matte finish and to protect the paint job. However, the symbolic markings on the skulls, the blood effect on Sven and the Satyr lost their gloss effect after the matte varnish application. To restore the gloss effect, I apply gloss varnish to these areas. As the final step, I'm adding tufts to the base. To do this, I prepare some tape with super glue. I carefully dip the tufts into the super glue and then place them onto the base. With that, the miniature is complete. Let's have a look at the final result. I hope you enjoyed the video and perhaps learned something new. If you found this content interesting, you can support me by sharing the video, leaving a like and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe or you might end up like Sven. And stay tuned for the next one. Until then, keep one hand on the miniature and one on your brush.